So yes, happy Friday. Thank you for coming along. Tons of great work. Want to share some things that are working really well. We'll start with Kelly from Milton Keynes, who pioneered an approach of using surveys, and here she is to tell you all about it. I'm going to go into screen share mode.
Thank you. So go back a couple of months in Milton Keynes, our positive COVID cases were thankfully very low, something like 0.7 per 100,000 people, which is incredible to think of now. But we were looking for some hotspots to focus our comms work on. We've been running a very successful local campaign, which JP has shared some material from now, called Help MK Control COVID-19. So as well as having all the kind of things you would expect, digital work, engagement work where trusted voices were going out and sharing messages with their audiences, we were basically putting outdoor promotional material everywhere we thought people were going, which one point was just supermarkets and parks, so we put a lot there as well. But some of these things that you see on here are real, some are just sort of screen grabs of the works in progress, but we've got bollards, we've got council vehicles, we've got bus shelters, we've got all sorts of stuff wrapped with this very distinctive look, which was working well. We work with GovDelivery to send out our e-newsletters, and we have, I think, a record 80% open rate with them. So it was working well, but we wanted to be a bit of proactive, especially to target under 25s and people who were facing economic disparities, because we knew that there were people in these groups that were at higher risk. So went to JP, kind of expected a recommendation of a basic campaign mechanic, but what we were finding is some brilliant suggestions, including the mechanic of a quiz. So people would be presented with campaign material that just talked about ways of preventing COVID and what the symptoms were, but you also might be presented with this quiz where you go through these basics that JP is demonstrating now. If you get some of the material wrong, then you are presented with the right information at a later date, asked to take the quiz again. If you get it right, then that's brilliant. And we would find that quite a lot of people were sharing 100% scores organically on social media, which is great because in Milton Keynes we very firmly believe in an approach of positive reinforcement and helping people feel that everybody's doing it right. They don't want to be the last person on the block that's getting it wrong. So that sort of behavioural psychology drives quite a lot of our comms, not just for COVID, for recycling and other things as well. The other thing that appealed to us is we get a real sense of whether particular audiences were getting it right at the start and whether they're improving. And interestingly and reassuringly, we're now at a sort of, I think it's just under an 85% pass rate where everybody's getting it right. Reach is great as well. We've got to about 80,000 people. And yeah, this 85% pass rate is excellent because this whole campaign has been really helpful. From a very practical perspective, it's given us something to do where if people are getting it wrong, we're presenting them with the right information. So there is a very practical benefit in the fact that we are helping people change their behaviours positively when stopping the virus transmitted. It's been really great for us to reassure to our stakeholders, especially councillors, that we're doing a good thing in targeting groups that they were a little bit concerned that we weren't obviously giving evaluation to be able to get to. So a digital campaign is brilliant for that. We love the peer sharing. We love the fact that when people get it right, they talk about it themselves, and that's helped our reach get even further, a bit more bang for our buck. And we're actually mentioning that positive reinforcement in other comms. So we do a weekly video with our council leader, and he's talking about how people in Milton Keynes are getting it right. And we're just sort of playing it back in multiple sort of ways. And I think the final thing that's worked very well in this campaign is that we are now recruiting COVID champions, people who are going to be sharing positive information with their friends, family, neighbours, etc. We have a target to get 1,000 people by Christmas. If you get 100% on the quiz, you are now presented with information that says, would you like to be a COVID champion for Milton Keynes? Click here to find out more and to apply. I think we've just got to about 300 so far, which is going gangbusters given that it's only been a couple of weeks that we've been doing this. So JP's not holding a gun to my head, but I would say this has been money well spent on this campaign. And I think it's one of those really happy comms pieces of work where you are getting more than the sum of your parts. We've really sort of squeezed this dry. And what started as a bit of a campaign, partly to fill gaps in our intelligence, has turned into something where it's filling knowledge in other people's minds. So I'm really happy.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're happy, and thank you for taking the leap and for going for it. But we are also surprised at the interaction rates and the fact that, as you were saying with behaviour psychology, the act of the fact that you're getting people to engage a little bit more creates more engagement afterwards. So it's really neat. I saw someone ask what platform is it using. It's using Jotform, and we have a sort of corporate subscription to it. We're going to make, if anyone in here wants one of these surveys making for them, my colleague Mark will do. We're happy to give them for free to councils. You only pay when you use the media targeting that we've been doing. So thank you so much for that, Kelly. It was really good. Now have Martin. Are you on the call?
Hi. Yes. Thank you for having me. I think my microphone's working, but my camera isn't. So I'll carry on regardless. So I've been working. Well, I've known JP for a few years now. This is actually the first time I've worked with him. And I've just joined Waltham Forest Council as their head of communications and engagement for public health. And you can imagine the first thing on our to-do list is COVID-19. We have a pretty diverse borough in Waltham Forest, even by London standards. It's more diverse than the average, with fewer white British residents than the London average. So we knew we had a diverse audience, but the
Now, I'm not sure what's going on here. Can everyone hear me?
Hi, sorry, I've just been disconnected.
Hello, you're back.
I'm back. Sorry, yeah. So the council had some well-established channels, but we knew we needed to target. We just weren't sure who to target. So we went away and had a look at things like the JSNA, the Joint Strategic Needs Assessment, and that gives you a relatively high-level overview of broad demographics. It wasn't really good enough for what we wanted to do by way of targeting. So then, of course, you can go away and you can look at the translations that are most frequently used on your website and things like that. And again, it gives you some level, but of course, they're only people who are coming and using your website. So with Can and with John Paul, what we decided to do was trial relatively small amounts of money over a relatively quick time. Some very old actually as well, April 2020 this year, non-English language translations, 7 in total, just to really give us a proof of concept that there's an audience there in the borough for translated materials, to then give us the evidence we need to produce a business case to do much more frequent translations. And I think I'm sort of asked to speak a little bit about something you found interesting, or something you've perhaps proven, or something you weren't quite sure of. And the stats we got back from Can were completely contrary, if you like, to what we assumed we knew, according to things like the Joint Strategic Needs Assessment and census data and all those sorts of things. Because, of course, these are people who are in the borough, working, studying, visiting, not necessarily residing when we last asked people 9 years ago, or the GLA has data from just a couple of years ago. So we're now using the evidence we've been able to get through the advertising to inform our approach. John Paul's been able to prove over the space of about 2 weeks, I think it was 69,000 devices with Romanian as their language were accessing our adverts in the borough. That far exceeds what we thought was the resident Romanian population. Can has also been quite good at helping us break down the impressions and engagement with the ads that we did place to let us know what it is that who it is that we are addressing at any particular time. So, for example, you may well have imagined there was a 50-50 gender split amongst social media users depending upon their language, but that was far from the case. We saw that there were 3 times as many male Urdu speakers as there were female speakers on Facebook within the borough. So using all of this data, we've now been able to basically produce a sort of almost a prioritized list, targeted list of the translations we need, the age and the gender of the people we're needing to target. And we haven't gone live yet because we're now getting the translations. But over the next couple of weeks, we're wanting to roll out a, if not weekly, at least fortnightly grid of regular translated materials to probably something like our 10 most populous non-English languages. It's a Friday afternoon and we're all probably shattered, so I'll get on my soapbox for a minute, but I find it really, really disappointing still that we're not getting routine translations out of Public Health England, in our case London councils, nationally. In London, obviously, we've got one of the most diverse cities in the country, and we've got 33 London boroughs all producing their own translations. So behind the scenes, CAN has sort of proven the concept for us. We're now looking to see, well, who can we partner with, neighbouring boroughs with similar demographic profiles as our own, to try and get a sort of economy of scale. Those figures you see there, the reach and the impressions, far exceed our resident populations. We know that we have got a lot of people in the borough working, visiting, studying here, and we're now able to actually use this evidence as well to inform our engagement approach. So what we've started doing is targeting face-to-face mask and COVID material distribution at our main transport hubs as well. If it is that we know there are populations that are coming into the borough to work when they don't necessarily live here, we think that getting to our tube stations, our overground stations and our bus stations again will help us sort of meet and greet that population that are coming in to work in the borough, even if they're not necessarily living here. I mean, I've been invited to speak by CAN, so I probably should just give them a slight endorsement. I've got to say, John Paul and the team were really helpful. I do think they adopt a very iterative approach, and that they can be as hands-on or hands-off as you need. Sometimes we think we know what we want, and then, you know, it's the experts that are working sort of across the board that help us realize exactly what it is we want. And what you're looking at now as well, this wasn't a sort of a data dashboard that was off the shelf for us, but CAN understood exactly what it was we needed to prove with this pilot, so went away and tweaked this behind the scenes for us, just so we could prove by language spoken, by gender and by age, the respective audiences, to then inform our business case. So happy to share anything offline. If John Paul, if you want to share my contact details, more than happy for you to do that. And likewise, if anybody's got any questions in the chat, I can have a go at those as well.
Wonderful, thank you so much, Martin. I feel slightly not like that. It's really kind. And Mark, who is our data guy, he's done an amazing job creating these dashboards so that people can see what's going on and get that sort of granularity and really quick turnaround times as well. I just wanted to show you something really current about targeting young people. Very quickly, Havering running a quiz specifically around face covering. So you don't have to do the standard quiz. There are all sorts of different variants you can have. They're asking restaurants, shopping centres, and why you wear a mask. And this is the data that's coming back. So it tells comms they need to get the restaurant's message across. And get that feeding through to people. Also, you can see who's getting what right and wrong by age group as well. So that can again help you target little bits. Now I'm conscious I said we would take 15 minutes, but thank you so much, Kelly. Thank you so much, Martin. Really, really appreciate you coming along. Hopefully for everyone else it's been useful and there are some things that you can come away with. As I said, if you want to have one of these surveys and just push it out through your social, email channels, whatever, let me know and Mark will build one for you for free. You only pay CAN when we start doing the targeted ads. I think I've covered everything. Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Martin. I hope everyone has lovely weekends, and we'll speak again soon.